Benjamin Siegel, if you are actually roaming this property in any spiritual form, or if anyone who knows or knew Benjamin Siegel or his associates like Meyer Lansky would like to come and visit with us, we are asking you to please go have a seat in that chair.
Hey guys, it's Danny the Medic. Welcome to the channel. Happy Halloween, everyone. Now, I wanted to do a Halloween special, but last time I tried something scary, it totally sucked. So today I have for you a paranormal expert, Joshua P. Warren. Now, if you don't know Joshua P. Warren, he is a paranormal expert. He's been on the History Channel, Discovery Channel, Travel Channel, as well as a podcasting stuff that he does with iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM. He also owns the Boulder City Ghost and UFO Tour. All right. So Joshua says that the Flamingo is haunted, right? And I'm gonna be. I was like, I don't know anything about that, you know. So here he is, and he's gonna tell you about it and show you stuff that I have not yet seen any of this. So here we go. Joshua P. Warren.
Well, thank you, Danny. I brought my I brought some of my favorite ghost hunting tools. Honestly, I have warehouses full of equipment, so I couldn't bring everything, but I brought some of the best stuff, and we're going to see if you happen to be staying in a haunted room tonight. But the reason that I thought the Flamingo is such a perfect place for this investigation is that the Flamingo, it really became kind of the model for what a hotel and casino should be like here on the Vegas Strip. It was the first kind of glamorous property like that. But it was financed by mobsters and gangsters. And as a matter of fact, the Flamingo here on December the 26th of 1946, so one day after Christmas. And at that time, the man in charge who had brought this huge influx of money, was controlling the look of this whole area, was Bugsy Siegel. Now, Bugsy Siegel was not that old at the time. He was around his early 40s, but he had a national reputation as one of the most brutal murderers in the country. He always wore the nice suits, but he was involved in almost every kind of case you can imagine. And they always said that they called him Bugsy because even though his real name was Benjamin Siegel, they said he would go crazy as a bedbug on you just like that and kill you. And which is kind of weird because he never liked to be called Bugsy. But anyway, he brought all of this gangster money here to create the Flamingo. And at that time, however, there were still a lot of people trying to kill him. In fact, he had this suite here on the property, and there was one entrance to his suite, but there were 5 hidden exits. One of them was through a closet where he had a ladder that would go down into the basement, and there was always a chauffeur in a car waiting there 24 hours a day if he needed to escape.
Oh.
All the windows of his suite were, the windows of the car were bulletproof. I mean, that's how many enemies that he had. And it turns out that when this place opened, it was at first a big flop. A lot of people back then didn't like the idea that they had to dress up to go to a casino. Locals weren't used to that. A lot of things were not working out fine. So that the other gangsters and mobsters he was dealing with in New York and Chicago were really happy to begin with. But then when they found out, like less than a year later, that he had supposedly been embezzling money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, they decided he had to die. And so Bugsy Siegel, at the window of an apartment in Beverly Hills one evening, reading a newspaper, and somebody shot him outside the window, shot him through the window, hit him 4 times. One bullet knocked his eyeball completely out of his head, killing him instantly. And at the age of 41, after he opened this place, the Flamingo, he was dead. Well, almost immediately, people said that they could see the ghost of Bugsy Siegel haunting this property because this property was his big legacy. I mean, this was the big project of his life. And all these other gangsters came in afterward, and they saved this place and turned it into, something kind of like celebrated his legacy. And they and for a long time, people in Las Vegas didn't want to talk about Bugsy Siegel because they didn't want to be associated with the guy who was that. Things changed, and why that is. But now there is a garden back here that has it has a memorial devoted to him with the plaque on it. There are often flamingos running around out there, so he's kind of celebrated. People say they see the ghost of Siegel only out around that chapel, but also exploring property. Now, it's true there has been reconstruction. It's not necessarily the same room set up all the time, but he was proud of this place. This is where he would want to be. But this is the spookiest part. He killed so many that there were a lot of dark, begrudging spirits that haunted him his whole life. Over the years, there have been, dozens, at least, of employees that say that these rooms are commonly haunted by either the spirit of Bugsy Siegel or some of the people that he killed. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference because a lot of these gangsters were just guys who were wearing dark suits, sometimes a dark hat, and you might not know exactly who you're looking at. But it's not uncommon for someone to wake up in the middle of the night and see one of these men standing at the or even touching them and tapping them on the foot. I have actually had some of the house cleaning staff tell me that sometimes they hear a horrible coming from a room that sounds like a man's being tortured. They get security to open it up. There's nobody in there. Maybe this is some kind of a ghost associated with all that. I'm a big ghost enthusiast, but we'll see if we can change that tonight. Taking some measurements in this room right in the middle of all this ghostly action because sure about what it is on television shows. See why you would think it's all a bunch of bunk because TV shows for entertainment. Do the real research is that where a ghost is, people say they see them, and they've been doing that for thousands of years. Human experience that people. And when I often, maybe not everybody can see, but if you go to places where people do see ghosts sometimes, and you start taking measurements into these invisible fields of energy, invisible wavelengths of light, then you start seeing weird things that may somehow be associated with that, correlated with that. And that's why that I became so interested in the ghosts of Las Vegas. That's why I started the Haunted Boulder City Ghost and UFO Tour. And that is why I suggested that this would be a great place for you to spend the night here for our Halloween special to see if we can do a little ghost hunt and find any nugget of truth to all the tales that the Flamingo is one of the most haunted places in Las Vegas. Let's break out some equipment. First off, I'm just going to start setting up equipment, and then I'll go back and tell you how each piece is used. And some of these I have used for many, many years and have been with me around the world. It's like this one, for example. It's been very beat up. I've literally had this knocked out of my hand by some kind of a ghost. Yeah, this is not the kind of a bag that you hand off to a concierge or a bellman. This is some pretty rare and often expensive stuff to fit into such a little bag. Yes, we'll save that one for the end.
Ah, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising how much you can fit in one of these little bags, but you know all about that. I've seen how you pack. Okay. Another thing we'll save for the end. Don't think I'll be needing a flashlight. Okay. I think that might be all we're going to use. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, got some glasses. All right. This should be a pretty good starting point for us. Okay. So first off, one of the reasons that I really like this particular meter, this is called a tri-field natural EM meter. And it is designed so that it does not pick up the electromagnetic fields that come from wiring, lights, etc. under normal circumstances. And so what's cool about this is it picks up natural fields. So if I turn this on and sit it down, I can come over here on the corner of the bed, and then we'll give it just a second to kind of settle down. And what you'll notice is that it's so sensitive that it can pick up the electromagnetic and electrostatic field around the human body. So you see how when I get up and move, it's literally responding to the energy field around my body. Now here's what's really interesting with a meter like this. If you take that meter and you put it in a normal room and you put a camera on it and you leave that room, well then it sits there all day long and does almost nothing. But if you put that meter in a haunted room where people say that they've been seeing ghosts, then often, out of the blue, it will start reacting just like there's a person walking around it, even though nobody is supposedly in the room. So this is one of the interesting devices because it acts like there's a person in the room even though there's not a person in the room. And that makes us wonder if it's picking up the energy of something spiritual, for lack of a better word. This is a different model of this particular meter called the Model 2, and it just picks up a different range of things. Now, this is the kind of device we would use if we want to try to pick up artificial fields. So if you go over here, like around the light or around the monitor, it's going to pick that stuff up. And that's great because that just shows you that here in Las Vegas, one of the brightest cities in the world, I mean, there's a lot of electricity. And as you get closer to something artificial, it has a higher reading. So by using this kind of meter in conjunction with this kind of meter, you can make sure that you're measuring natural fields that might be around something of a biological origin versus something that's coming from artificial wiring. This meter is one of my favorites because this is just an electrostatic field meter in general. And what it does is simply sit around and measure the electrostatic charge in the air. So here we are. What floor are we on here, Danny?
21.
Wow, okay, so we're way up there. So the higher you go into the atmosphere, the more electrostatic charges you experience, literally just from wind and clouds and that kind of thing. And it seems like there's some kind of a connection between paranormal phenomena and these very strong electrostatic fields. It may just be because people see interesting lights like plasmas and they think that they're seeing something ghostly, or it could be that whatever electrostatic charge is out there, it's sort of stirring up the environment and it's creating a dynamic energy environment that allows people who can see ghosts to somehow experience them because it's stimulating a part of the brain or it's firing up something in the environment. We're just not sure what that connection is, but I'm always measuring those. Now, when it comes to imagery, this is great because this is a thermal imaging camera. And what that means is, okay, let's see how this is going to show up. Let's go to, can you see that we're looking into the corner of the room there, Danny? Over where the lamp is?
Uh-huh.
Now I can push this button and start putting different layers on top of it, which color code the temperature. Now you can see maybe even a little bit better. Let's look at this lamp over here next to the bed. Okay, so now if I start adding layers to that, well, first off, it shows you what the temperature is in Celsius, 21.3, now it's just 21.0. But if I start adding layers to it, then like I say, it'll start color coding the temperature of the area. So by using this, I can look around the area to see if there are any hot spots or cold spots that are kind of mysteriously floating in the air. Okay. And there actually are some interesting spots that are showing up. All right, but let's get back to that. Let's go on with the other equipment. Okay, now in a similar way, we have got this, and this is called a full spectrum camera. And this is a camera that's been modified so that it can actually see into parts of the infrared and ultraviolet field that the normal human eye cannot see. So the normal human eye, without getting too technical, it's able to see from around, 400 to 700 nanometers is what they call it. And so outside of that range, you can see, if you have an infrared or ultraviolet camera, infrared or ultraviolet light, which the normal human eye cannot see. So this particular camera is able to see a much wider range, from 280 to 1200 nanometers. So what that means is this is increasing the odds of us being able to see something unusual or paranormal, because we're literally able to see frequencies that are closer to the infrared or ultraviolet spectrum than the normal human eye can usually see. And so a little bit later, we're going to be scanning this room thoroughly to see if we're able to see something that way that is invisible. Another thing that is a very simple tool that works great on these investigations is a laser grid. So the cool thing about laser grid, and you got to be careful in Vegas with these, we don't want to shoot it out the window or anything. All these laser dots that are supposed to be standing still will suddenly start shifting. and you can see the most vague form move in front of them because it's going to slightly distort them, almost like heat waves over a hot roadway. And so if you see anything sort of move through the room and distort these, that's a good place to point your cameras. So that's something that we'll use a little bit more here shortly. Another very simple tool is a strobe light. And there's nothing special about this particular strobe light. Let it sit there now that we've got it operating, and see if that's going to help us see something in the room that would otherwise be invisible. This is just a voltmeter that any kind of electrician would use, because sometimes you'll find that the furniture around the room has this unusual current running through it. And if you can't figure out why that is, later you'll find out, like, oh, people were experiencing something weird in that corner. Another thing that I find interesting is that, well, here we are in Nevada, where there's a lot of testing that's gone on when it comes to radioactive material. This is a Geiger counter. So there's always going to be a certain amount of radiation in the environment. It's called cosmic radiation, comes from outer space, goes all the way back to the Big Bang. And however, some places here on Earth have more of that radiation than others because of atomic testing that's been done. Now, this state has done an excellent job of cleaning up a lot of their nuclear waste. But it's still kind of interesting when you're looking at a room that's supposed to be haunted to just test that out, because basically radiation is just another form of electromagnetism, and actually that is kind of high, 83. But it's not dangerous, and it may have more to do with the fact that we're high up than anything. But maybe we'll let that sit there and collect some readings for a little bit. This is picking up alpha, beta, gamma, and X-rays. So it's a very sensitive meter. I actually bought this particular meter. Some of your viewers might find this interesting. I bought this many, many years ago from Bob Lazar, who is famous for blowing the whistle on Area 51. And that was kind of high. I got to tell you, it was over 100, and then it's giving us an average of 96. So interesting. And then I do have two things we'll say for the end. All right, so those are our basic tools. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave the laser grid up and running so that if either one of us, Danny, notices anything moving in that corner, we'll be able to say, okay, maybe something's affecting those straight beams from the laser. And then we've also, since we've been having some problems with this thing, we don't want to mess with it too much, but let's just leave it in that chair. And let's just ask a ghost to go over and have a seat in that chair for us. As a matter of fact, let's put one of our meters over here. We'll move this back in the corner so it's a little farther away from us. And since we know that those will pick up energy from the human body, well then it makes sense for us to not get too close to it so we won't interfere with it. So why don't we just have a sit down here for a moment, and as we do that, we can also be scanning this area with a thermal imager. And of course I can take pictures with this thermal imager if anything pops up. Now the next big thing about professional ghost hunting is that it takes a lot of patience. And that is why that when you watch these TV shows, most of the time you're not getting genuine paranormal activity, and that's because that TV shows, as you well know, Danny, they have a pretty tight schedule, and they kind of have figured out in advance what they need to do and when it needs to get done so they can stay on that schedule. But,
should I turn off some lights or anything? Or?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Yeah, let's kill some of the lights in here. And what you find when it comes to paranormal research, paranormal means beyond normal. That means it doesn't happen all the time. As a matter of fact, it doesn't happen most of the time. And so that's why when you watch these shows where they've got to conjure up a ghost on demand, you're probably not going to be seeing something legit. This is just a regular temperature gauge. I might have skipped over that. And so, like, for example, this is showing us the Fahrenheit. So right now that seat is 71 degrees Fahrenheit. And we've got it on Celsius on this device. All right, so let's see if this is going to turn out okay. Now, just so you know how to operate this, Danny, see that red arrow, or sorry, the blue arrow pointing to the right? Right now, if you wave that around, it's just going to show you the room as it looks to your naked eye. But if you start clicking it one by one and it puts layers on it, it'll show you the cooler temperatures in blue and the warmer ones in red. So, like, for example, if I put my hand out here, you can see my hand pretty clearly, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so since that you are going to be wanting to record for maybe sometimes what's on this with your camera for your show, let me let you hold on to that. And while you look around, and again, you can just judge when you want to click that button, how blue or how red you want it to be. I'm going to take this full spectrum camera and start making some pictures and see if I see anything here that's unusual. Okay, so now you can see we've been sitting here for a minute and that meter's not doing anything, right? Mm-hmm. It seems like it's pretty steady, so we're not interfering with it. All right, so let's try this out. Earlier, when I was talking about Bugsy Seagull, we started getting some interference on the audio you were recording. So as silly as it seems, let's ask for Bugsy Seagull or anybody associated with him to come have a seat in that chair over there. All right. My name is Joshua P. Warren. I'm here with Danny the Medic. We've come here to study the Flamingo. And so, Benjamin Siegel, if you are actually roaming this property in any spiritual form, or if anyone who knows or knew Benjamin Siegel or his associates like Meyer Lansky would like to come and visit with us, we are asking you to please go have a seat in that chair. And if you do, we might be able to hear your energy being recorded. I'm going to move this a little bit more in that direction. And I'm going to turn on this electrostatic meter because it's very sensitive. It doesn't make any noise though. But this will sit here and slowly gather up information for us. Okay, once again, Mr. Benjamin Siegel, or any of your associates, or even enemies, anybody who knew Benjamin Siegel or knows about any of these spirits that we hear are supposedly exploring this property with, we're inviting you right now to come and have a seat or make your presence known however you'd like. Tap on something, touch me or Danny, make a light flicker, do something strange to any of our equipment, give us some kind of an indication that something unusual may be happening here. So our temperature over there was remaining pretty steady, around 71. Let's see if we have any cold spots. A little bit of a, actually kind of a warm spot over your bed. It's kind of interesting. You always hear about, ghosts creating a cold spot. If there's any truth to that, then we can only theorize that maybe it's because that a ghost is somehow drawing energy from one area in order to manifest somewhere else, and that creates a vacant spot. Nobody knows. Okay, now we're going to turn on this other meter. And this does not pick up human beings on this setting, but it does pick up radio waves and microwaves.
Now, I know you said it takes a long time, but maybe this room just isn't haunted.
That is true. So let's move on to these other things that I brought for us to try out. One of them I brought just especially for you. All right. Now, Denny.
Okay, what we got here now?
This was given to me by a witch. This is not something that you just buy at the store, apparently.
Oh, okay, let me turn on the light so you can see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Ah.
This is an actual little Ouija board that a witch I know gave to me.
No, it's so small.
And you usually see the big, Parker Brothers ones.
Parker Bros.
All right, so you got to be patient for just a second. Is Danny going to win later at the blackjack table?
It's just gonna go to no as usual.
All right, now remember, we're not pushing it. It's going to go on its own. Whoa, look. It actually kind of pulled ahead of itself. Well, that's a pretty clear-cut answer. Oh, listen to that. The radio wave's picking up.
We should have just started the video with this.
These are known as ESP cards. Some people call them Zener cards. And parapsychologists use these to test out how psychic you may be at any given time.
Oh, these things.
So we have 5, ideally, of each of these symbols. And we're going to see how psychic you are, at least tonight. Because some people find that they're very psychic on a certain night, but not others. All right, so now I'm going to take these remaining cards and shuffle them up. It's actually a little bit tricky to shuffle such a small deck of cards. And it's possible that I somehow lost one of the cards over the years. But ideally you have 5 of each kind. And I've just pulled one out. So you kind of have, like odds of getting 1 out of 5 here, more or less. All right, oops. So here's what we're gonna do for your test. I'm gonna even put these under the table. Now, I'm not gonna know what card I'm pulling out, and you're not gonna know what card is being pulled out. All right, so what is the next card gonna be?
The circle.
What is the next card gonna be? Next card? And one more card is left.
That one goes there.
Oh, that goes here?
Yeah, that one goes there.
Okay. And you got one card left.
And that one goes here.
That will go here.
Okay.
All right. Neither one of us know what the outcome of this is. Let us find out right now if you're gonna, if the spirits are with you tonight as you use your psychic ESP to hit it on the blackjack table. Here we go. This one, wrong.
Oh my
wrong.
God, that's so bad.
Okay, let's see what we got on this next one here. It's hard to get a hold of these things. I need better fingernails. Okay, so wrong, right, wrong. You did get one right that time. Wrong. Right, wrong. And then over here. Okay, that is really bad.
That's so bad.
So, but we know that it said you were going to win something tonight on the Ouija board. So, do you want to try this one more time?
No,
All right.
I'm good. I just, I'm gonna quit gambling.
All right. So,
Well, thank you for coming by. I was really hoping that the ghost would show up, like, right away, as soon as they say, oh, Bugsy, and a poof, that would have been like a heck of a video. I don't think we saw anything right here and now tonight. But, oh well. I'll tell you this. I am glad I'm checking out tomorrow.
and as soon as we turn the cameras off, that's when Bugsy's going to appear.